Hey, thanks for joining us today. We hope to make the next 20 minutes or so very information-packed for you and very useful to making your office that much closer to being paperless. We focus here at CVN on the paperless office and in automating document-centric paper-based processes. So we're going to talk today about optimizing scanned documents. From time to time, we will present other webinars in related areas like business process automation, including optimizing your AP, your forms processing, your mail routing, etc. Okay, so a lot of you probably have paper in the office. You also have a lot of electronic documents, and you want to sort of convert the paper and give it the utility, the ease of use of electronic files. Let's go through how do we get started with that process. So here we go. Here's an agenda. What we want to try to cover the next 15 minutes. Moving towards the paperless office, what are the steps? Right, anybody questions so far? See someone in the back? Raise your hand if you have any questions. We'll take them. Just type them in and try to answer them either during the talk or the end of the talk, okay? Document formats, we'll talk about different formats. Obviously, we believe PDF is probably the best format around for archiving your paper. Smart documents, what makes a document smart? When you're capturing paper, what are best practices? If you talk to ARMA and you ask the ARMA committee, you talk to NARA, you say, what is the best way for us to retain our documents over the next year, 50 years? What's the new electronic microfiche? So we'll talk about what it takes for a document to be smart and why we feel PDFA probably has all the right ingredients. PDF has all the right ingredients, and PDFA in particular. We'll talk about going the next step. If you're capturing your paper, maybe you want to get more advantage, more return on investment than just telling your boss, hey, I got rid of the paper from the office. We don't need these 5 file cabinets anymore. Well, that's great, but maybe now you want to automate part of the data entry process you've been doing, or automatically store incoming documents based on class, or route them to the right people in a digital mail environment. So once you've got your paper scanned, there are smarter things you can do with it. We'll talk a little bit about business process automation, and what are some of the benefits of Intelligent Capture. We'll show you a real-time demo of our flagship product, PDF Compressor, which is used for super compressed searchable documents. We also have another product, Trapeze, which we use for business process automation. Then we'll conclude and take some questions from you. So how's that agenda? Any questions so far? Again, if you type them in, we'll be glad to take them. We once had open mic Friday, but a lady's dog was barking half the talk, and it didn't work too well. So we appreciate it if you type your questions in. We'll take them. Thank you. Okay, so number one, first step here is scanning. So if you've got boxes of paper, for us to help you, anything from making super small, searchable, web-optimized PDF to indexing all the documents in your organization using Outlook to sorting your documents based on class. I mean, all that depends on first making them electronic. If they're pure paper, we can't really help you. So the first thing is taking your paper and making it into some digital media. Now, often if you have an MFP in your office, a multifunctional printer, it's going to do something. So as long as you throw it through some scanning device, you will get something, but it might not be very useful. So often if you just use the office device, you'll get something, but it'll be bloated. We'll show you stuff 20, 30, 50, 100 times larger than it needs to be. Won't be searchable, so don't expect to search in Google Desktop, Outlook, and find anything, because it's just a scanned image document. There's no text there. You might get different file types. You might have TIFFs and JPEGs and PDFs all mixed together. Scans are too large or not web optimized. You can't put them on a web hosting site. You can't collaborate with anybody. You can't really attach them to an email because they're way too big. So scanning them is the beginning of moving towards a paperless office, but it's just the first step in a series of steps in a progression that you have to take. And CVN is happy to take it with you every step of the way, from scanning your paper to fully automating your office, where you just walk in the morning and there's an on button, turn the on button on, and go and get a suntan, take a siesta. So we're happy to automate you every step of the way, but it starts by capturing your documents. You can't do much without that. All right, any questions so far? The fellow in the back, munching on a burrito. Question? No? All right. So you can see if you just scan, you use the local MFP, that Xerox Work Center, Canon Image Runner. Did I leave anybody out? Fujitsu Series, Lexmark, whatever. You're not going to get a very optimized kind of document. So they might be unsearchable. You can't find anything difficult to locate. We had an issue this week. Even if you got PDF portfolios and packages, a lot of the index agents won't pick that up. So you may have stuff that you can't find. It's inefficient. It's too large. We're here to help. You want to move towards a paperless office, but you got to do it the right way. So what do we mean by intelligent document capture, smart document capture? Well, PDF happens to support a lot of the things recommended by ARMA, which, of course, is the Record Management Association. I mean, what is the new microfiche? We all remember as kids going to the library and want to find the newspaper the day JFK died, and you call up some microfiche, right? And the microfiche was the way that you keep track of stuff from 10, 20, 30 years ago. What is the microfiche that our kids are going to be using? You know, well, if it isn't going to be PDFA, we're not sure what it's going to be. I mean, it looks like the industry is definitely converged on PDF, and for long-term archiving, you add that A in the end because PDFA guarantees the long-time search and viewability, displayability, printability of your files. It's basically PDF with some restrictions that are important. No encryption, no JavaScript, no executables, no hyperlinks outside the document, stuff like that. All good stuff. Now, PDF is a preferred, really the preferred format. Microsoft tried to come up with its own XPS. It really hasn't taken a handle, foothold into the industry. PDF really is. It is the industry standard. Now, what does PDF support that we like? Well, full-text searchability. So if you convert your paper into scan paper, you still got to find everything. You can use hidden text layers, so you get the look and feel of the original image with the full search of the PDF text behind it. So they're fully text searchable. You get compression. The latest compression standards, and I'm happy to say that CVision has been part of the evolution of compression technology in the last 10 years. We were the first company to introduce compressed PDFs. We've licensed that back to Adobe and the PSL library. We've licensed it for a while to Kofax and their VRS. So we are a leader in compression technology, and if you can't make scan paper small enough, people won't attach it as email. They won't be comfortable using it in the MFP environment. So compression is important. We're able to get scan paper back to native electronic sizes. More about that in a few minutes. Universally free viewer, you don't have to worry, oh, this horrible viewer made in, who am I not insulting, made in Belarus is going to come up, and it really doesn't dither half so much. Everything looks horrible. The JPEGs are blotchy. You know the viewer will come up as a PDF viewer. So, you know, if you're distributed, let's say you're an accounting firm with 100 offices worldwide, there's something nice knowing about the quality of the image display. And we work for companies that have 100, 200 offices worldwide, and it's really hard to centralize. But here you know the viewer coming up is the PDF reader, and you know that the viewer experience is going to be uniform. Security, we can ensure print protection, edit protection, however much security you want, double key encryption, RCA 128-bit. So as much security as you want, MD4 hash. I know some of you there want that MD4 hash function. So any kind of security you want on the PDF can be put in. It's really great that way. Metadata insertion, you may want to, like following ARMA best practices, say, oh, this data should be kept for 7 years, and we should, you can put the retention policy into the metadata. You can put author, creator, any relevant data that the database has about a document. ARMA and NARA recommend is metadata inserted. PDF supports that. It's an industry standard format. It fully preserves the integrity of the original file. So when you look at, when you stack everything up, you shouldn't really be capturing the TIFF or JPEG. I would say to you that's really a no-no. It's really for best practices, consistent again with ARMA and NARA. You want to map the PDF, and not just any PDF. We'll talk a little bit more about PDFA. PDFA really guarantees that if you need this document, you're subpoenaed, it gets into litigation, you represent the corporate side of your company, that you can come up with a PDFA 5, 10, 15 years from now. It's guaranteed to display correctly, to present at trial. Whenever you need it, it will be there for you. So it's like CVision, by the way. We're there for you. If you have any questions in capturing your paper, automating your paper-based workflows, we can be helpful. Chris, can we?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, image compression, I want to talk a little bit about that because people say, well, paper is bulky. I don't want to scan all one paper because if I do that, it's a megabyte per page, and if I send a 20-page mortgage to my boss, I'll clog up his whole mailbox, and I'll come in here and yell at me. So that's not really the case. I mean, what we've done with PDF technology in the last 5 years is introduce some really cool compression where essentially you can get the captured file back down to electronic native file sizes. In this test, for example, we took a file issued by Congress, 921K bytes. Then we printed it and rescanned. When you rescan, typical scan gets to be much larger. If you don't believe me, let's say you're a law firm or accounting firm, print a 20-page document right now as we speak. Print it, rescan it through your MFP, and send it back to yourself on your Xerox Work Center, on your Canon Image Runner. It doesn't matter. It's going to be much larger. Okay, so again, the test would be take your electronic Word file, your electronic PDF right now, print it, scan it back to yourself in MFP and email, and see what happens. It's going to be much larger. We project probably at least 10 times larger. With CVision, we're actually able to get it back to its original electronic size most days, all right, which is pretty cool. And it means you don't have to get the bloatedness of captured paper. You can really, under PDF, write compression, get back to electronic sizes. Start with a Word file less than a meg. Regular scanning was TIFF was 13 meg. When we pack into PDF using any standard package like Adobe, Acrobat, you're still going to get G4 under the hood. PDF wrap, where it's still sitting at 13, 14 meg. 14 times larger than the original. PDF compressor is completely compressed, searchable PDF, web-optimized PDFA for archivability, and it's smaller than the original electronic file size. So that's what we mean by a smart document. Moving right along. Any questions? Anybody listening out there? Hello? Okay. So what we'll give you in the next 10 minutes is the secret sauce of how CVision makes the world's smartest documents, all right? Coming right up. So one of the things we'd like to do is be sure that the documents are fully recognized, which means there's a barcode. We're going to make it indexable and searchable for you. We'll find it. If there's handwriting, the ICR library is on. We will find and recognize the ICR. If there's OCR, we'll lift it, even in low contrast. Your invoices, your EOB, your tired and weary documents, you bring them to us. If there's any text there, we'll find it. We'll make it as searchable as possible. Once you make it a searchable PDX, by the way, it should be picked up by whatever indexing software you have. Google Desktop, for example, Microsoft's own indexing agent should find it, as long as it's a searchable PDF. So we will try to find any symbolic information on there. Be it machine print, handwriting, barcoding, doesn't matter. We support your general image processing functions, but in a more sophisticated way than you'd find on the MFP device. Deskew, rescale, line removal, component enhancement. How do we do some of what we do? Well, some of it's secret, but some of it we'll tell you this morning, this afternoon, the time zone you're in. We're experts at separating the form from the data here at CVision. It's part of what makes PDF compressor work. And here it's very tricky. So most search engines get confused with that line through the 0. And they don't necessarily give you back the 0. We understand that part of it's the form, part of it's the data. We separate them out. We get it back to you cleanly. Here's another example. Again, we don't give you another one here because we understand that's a data box, part of the form. So clean separation between the form and the data is essential. Very clean text lifting, even in low contrast regions, is essential. We do that too. Here you can see, what about half-toning? The document's not fully connected, yes. But we look at things across scale, multi-scale OCR analysis. Does anyone else do that? Competition? No, of course not. So therefore, we pick that up, and even though the dots are separated, we get that for you. All right, so very high level of accuracy. So not only do we give you very functional electronic files that are very, very small, smaller than the electronic originals and not bloated the way electronic paper can be, but also fully searchable, so you can find and index everything that you need to find. Let's talk for a minute about PDFA. Part of being a smart document is being accessible, having the fidelity of electronic files, being treated like a normal digital media file. However, we need to worry with so many flavors of PDF out there, and we're up to version 10, that you can always view this file 5, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So that's where PDFA standard was developed, to be sure that if you're a distributed, let's say you're a large consulting firm, you may have 10 offices, you may have 1,000 offices in different countries. You want to be sure documents can always be displayed. The nice thing about PDFA, it's totally self-contained, and the PDFA checker will check that everything is in there. Can we know hyperlinks that are external to the file? Can we know fonts it needs that are unembedded? All fonts need to be self-contained. So by creating something that has no encryption, totally self-contained, no external links allowed, no JavaScript, no executable, you're creating a very, very safe file with basically a guarantee that as long as the document satisfies the PDFA requirements, and we make documents that are guaranteed to satisfy the PDFA requirements, you can always open this file, even 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. So if you're talking about what's going to replace microfiche in the next 5, 10, 20 years in government agencies, in corporate America, in libraries. It's going to have to be, as far as we can tell, as far as the industry trends that we can tell, that we can see, it's going to be PDFA. PDFA has a few different restrictions on it that make it a little bit more better behaved from an ARMA perspective, as opposed to generic PDF, independent, in particular, device independence, be displayed and printed on any device, regardless of a hardware, software, self-contained, no outside resources necessary, self-documenting, transparent, you can directly analyze it, there's no protection mechanism, no encryption, no passwords allowed. If you need protection, it's got to be done within your database system, but you would not encrypt the file itself. Disclosure, full disclosure of the PDF specs are available as an ISO standard over the last years, which means that ISO, this is a public standard now, PDFA, that everybody has access to, and it's widely adopted. So we have all these necessary conditions for something to be PDFA, and when these are all satisfied, you can be sure, whether you're in the compliance division of your company, whether you're in the record management division, whether you're charged in a mailroom, that a PDFA file is basically a new electronic record. It will display, will print 10, 5, 10, even 100 years from now. Let's move on. Now another step, and Chris, I asked you this because I think you have a lot of experience here, is that once companies want to scan, they don't only just want to scan their paper. They may want to do more things, even automate some of their processes.
Sure, yeah. A lot of companies need to examine the business processes that take place post-scan, right? So if it relies on manual intervention, there might be opportunity to automatically extract data and automate some of those processes.
Right. And we see this all the time. We have companies that come in and say they start initially, could be a Fortune 500, saying, I've got all this paper. Can you help it? Can you help us in the licensed PDF compressor just to make their files scan and searchable? And then they'll turn around 6 months later and say, can you help us automate the mailroom? Because now that all your paper is electronic, you can start to automate the mailroom. You can auto-route it to the right analyst. You can pull off information automatically. So once you have scanned paper and it's searchable, you can really go far. You can really go far. Once you have that, you can start automating whole processes, whole verticals of your business. You can be the champion in your company for automating the paper trail. So automation, what about it? Where does automation come in? Well, we can automatically extract critical data from documents and talk to your database. So we're talking about higher accuracy, facilitates more automation because you'll find the field you're looking for, and then you'll find the information in the field you're looking for. Once you have classified, and we have an auto classifier, the form type, and you know the fields you want, you can automatically extract the fields that you need. And that produces measurable ROI because typically you'll be doing that manually. You can optimize the scans to produce higher automation rates. So the better the OCR quality, the more fields are going to be auto-coded. And you might have business rules to figure out whether a particular document looks like it's been coded correctly or not. For an invoice, you might say, if everything reconciles, if all the line item prices and the freight, tax, everything equals total, then I'm assuming it's correct. So you may have business rules which will allow you to plug in, config via XML, to let you know if we process the file correctly. Automated data extraction obviously can reduce the data entry involved. So you see, at the lower level of the spectrum, let's just start scanning. If you're dealing with paper, let's just start optimizing the scanned documents. That includes, you see the lower part of this on the left-hand side, OCR, compression, PDF conversion, basic image processing. So you want to check whether your company is doing that. That's just being on first base. But a lot of additional return on investment is going to come from taking it to the next level where you're automating various document-centric processes, including invoice automation, forms process automation, mailroom automation, including automated routing, and automatic classification of your documents or automatic sorting based on file type. So these are all additional ancillary benefits you get once you capture your paper. Let's contrast dump scan with an intelligence scan. So dump scan, you're just scanning your documents. Adding intelligence, particularly in this domain, would include recognition or things searchable, security. Maybe you only want some of the people to view these documents. Can you clean it up? DSQ, archival, that means PDFA. Guarantee that you can open this 5 years from now, even in your office in Mexico, right? That's all coming from PDFA archivability. Instant access. Maybe you've got a cooperative web-optimized site with 100 law firms collaborating. So that instant access would come from web optimization. Web optimizing your PDFs is a basic feature supported within PDF. Lets you jump to any page in a large PDF file in a fraction of a second. Automation, of course, means automating various document-centric processes, etc. So there's a long way from just throwing your documents into an MFP and sending them to everybody as an email attachment. You can obviously take this process a lot farther if you start to make your documents intelligent and automate some of the processes associated with them. Let's talk about the benefits of smarter image documents. What helps whom? Or who helps whom in this environment? So we take a look. What about the user? Well, if you move to Smart Searchable PDF, it's going to be easier to transmit and access files because they're much smaller, much easier to function as an email. You can find your text faster because everything's searchable. About 99% plus of stuff that hits plate glass that is used within an office environment these days is not searchable, not ever made searchable. So most of the stuff in your office that is MFP scanned is never made searchable. You can never find it again. It's not great. So if your default were, and you could hook our software up, for example, to your MFP directly, if your default is to make everything searchable, you'll find it when you need it. First page appears instantly because of the fact that it's optimized, it's web optimized. You get an optimal user experience. You can really control the user environment by making it PDF. When it's TIFF, again, particularly in a distributed environment, you don't know what the user experience is going to be in the French office, the English office, your Vancouver office. Instead, you guarantee with PDF a uniformity of experience across your user base. What about benefits to the IT department? Sometimes they're the ones that have to do the work when you transition to PDF or install the new software. Well, there's only one format to manage. If everything in the organization is PDF, they only need to worry about doing one kind of format. That's easier in the IT department. Nobody's banging on their door to please open that old Xerox TIFF from 8 years ago where you're throwing out the scanner and no one can seem to open this TIFF file. So there's a uniformity to all the files being managed. Reduced storage and bandwidth requirements. Documents preserved for a long time, particularly under PDFA. And we're built for high volume. So basically, our stuff is made to be run in server environments, saturated multi-core, really works in a high pressure, very high volume environments without putting up sweat even. Now, benefits to management. Why would management want to go and purchase something like PDF Compressor, convert all the documents to smart, searchable, web-optimized PDFA files? Well, it enables automation, which definitely saves money. So right away, as soon as it's searchable PDF, you can start automating processes like mailroom automation, invoice automation, forms automation, redaction automation, automated discovery. As soon as you've got searchable PDFs, you can start automating processes that are costing your firm money right now. So that ROI is always going to be interesting to management. You can demonstrate ROI. Our solutions architects here work with companies every day to demonstrate that they'll see ROI within 3 months, 6 months. Typically, because it saves you manpower, you can show a pretty quick turnaround on any automated process. But to do that, you got to start with searchable, accessible, text-available PDFs. Document retention is also a benefit to management. They know if they ever need to produce a document later, whatever, litigation, that document can be found. It's been electronically captured. Maybe it's kept on mirror websites. There's some redundancy there, and all the documents relevant to the corporation's business are available. Now it's time to take you on a test drive. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to set it up. Stay with us. All right, now we're going to try to get you out of here in the next 5 minutes. We know some of you probably have a few other things to do at work today. So we're just going to wrap it up with this demo. We'll take a few questions, and we're good to go. So here we go. We have these files right here. 6 files. You can see they vary in size. Some are color, some are black and white. Just for example, well, we'll show you them as we run them. Here we go. We got this full directory right here, and we are going to process them and make them searchable all at the same time. We're using a 6-core device. Vision saturates. You can see right here, we're on a 6-core. As soon as things start running, we saturate that core. If you have a quad server at work, we'll saturate that. So we're really meant for industrial use. We can handle up to millions of pages a day. We do that at some large banks. So whatever volume you have, however large your mailroom is, by the way, if you want to fully automate it and route the mail automatically, we can do that too. Let me show you a few features of PDF Compressor as this run continues. You can see right here, it lets you select documents. You can pick folders, recursively run folders of folders, select any files you want. Select the document file, say only PDF, only TIFF, only JPEG. You've got control over the workflow. You might want to do some image processing. We support a lot of image processing. You're pretty sophisticated. You can upsample. Let's say it's coming off a fax. You can upsample. Let's say you're seeing some CAD/CAM drawings. You can downsample. You can say let everything be 300 dpi. You can convert everything to bitonal. You don't want to keep the color. So you can deskew, derotate, auto crop, color inversion. So quite a bit of control to guarantee uniformity of the documents that are coming into your database. We'll give you output options. For example, we're running today PDFA. PDFA 1A, there's also 1B. We'll give you other controls over versions. You might want to map it to a particular version of Acrobat. You can do that too. Compression, we give you a lot of compression control. Normally black and white, we're the leaders in JPEG-2, which gives you about a 5-to-1 advantage over TIFF and TIFF G4 PDF, so standard PDF and TIFF. For color, you can sometimes get 100 times smaller, but I'd say a good working number, 10 to 20 times smaller than JPEG, and fully searchable. So within color, there are some controls, but typically if you use our default set of controls, you will do extremely well. Recognition, we're a leader in recognition. We've been funded by National Science Foundation for our OCR, and in particular, we have something called real-time. And in real-time, when real-time is on, you're running several pages per second. It's the world's fastest OCR engine, optical character recognition, by a margin, by a factor. Initially, we use nuance and we turbocharge it. So we have real-time, but we can run it also in super accurate, where you want to pick up every last item in the document. Communications, we allow you to work directly. If your files are in some remote FTP location, we'll take it and then we'll shoot them back to another FTP address. Document features include things you want to do like metadata insertion would be included in document features. Annotations, you can date stamp, page number, etc., all within annotation. Security is usually enabled to edit, print protect, read protect. It's disabled right now because under PDFA, those security is allowed. But normally, you can edit, print protect, view protect, etc., all right here in the PDF security panel. And here we are with job output. And it looks like this one is completed, Chris. And I think we're going to show everybody how we did. Now, this we did just for speed purposes with OCR off. I think we'll then do another file with OCR on. But this gives you a feeling of what we can do. Here you see, for example, you guys can see this, sort by name. So you can see, just for example, here's a Xerox document at 9.3 meg. And when we compress, it's 198 kbytes, 20 pages. So that's a compression ratio, 10 meg to 200 kbytes. What is that? That's 50 to 1, 50 to 1 for a compressed PDF file. Show that to you. So here you go. Now, we don't change the resolution at all. Okay, so here you can see this is an example of a 20-page Xerox file, and it was 50 times smaller, 50 times smaller, much smaller. No change in resolution. Original was 300 dpi. So is this version, 300 dpi. Here you see, just for example, Time Magazine. Your TIFF is 500 megabytes, same 20 pages of Time Magazine, 1.4 meg. That is, how much smaller is that, Chris?
You're the mathematician, not me.
300 times smaller. That's a lot smaller, 300 times smaller. That works, right? So if you haven't done full scan to color, it certainly opens up that possibility where everything is fully searchable, everything is full color at a fraction. I'm talking about a hundredth of the original size, which is great. So it gives you the possibility to start scanning, capturing in color. We have a file here, 20 meg out to 81 kbytes, 20-page file. That's a reduction of about 200 to 1, I believe, 200 to 1 reduction on this one. It's a black and white file. This is actually the Ken Starr report issued by Congress once upon a time, and it's 200 to 1 reduction there, and so on and so forth. So you can see that with PDF Compressor, you're able to get your file size way, way, way down. 5 to 10 times smaller black and white, sometimes even smaller than that. And when you talk about color, it can be as small as 100 to 1. And there you go. So let me just show you one. Now, these originally were not done with Search Run. I'm just going to redo it with one file and show you the searchability. We didn't have OCR on here just because we're doing a lot of black and white plus color files. If we're interested in searchability thereof, let's get rid of the direct. Let's just throw in one file. We take, let's say, the Ken Starr report right here, and we take it as a TIFF file. We throw that in, and we convert it, and we turn recognition on right here. Now OCR is on. Keep it in accurate mode. We can do it in real time if we cared about speed. So real time will give you the fastest results. Super accurate, the most accurate. And you can see basically that we did conversions here with reduction file size between 5 and up to 500 times smaller. All super compressed PDF, all PDFA for long-term archivability. Everything's web optimized. All right, so why would you want to keep, just a question here, I mean, why would you want, we still have a lot of companies that keep this stuff in TIFF. Chris, why do you think they would do that?
Well, the only reason I can think of is if their business process and their software relies on TIFF. Other than that, probably not be the best option for them.
Right, but the client's always right. So why would they do something that appears to be silly? I mean, your PDF is much smaller, right? And now you can retain it with PDFA. You can make it searchable. Wouldn't it be the right way to go?
Yeah, seems to be from our experience here at CBRN.
Yeah, so we don't know. I mean, a lot of you are out there, and we'd love to hear from you that are probably still keeping all your data archived as TIFF. It doesn't seem to add up on the face of it. You can't put the searchability in. You cannot get compression. The 10 to 1 we're getting over TIFF G4, you can't get that in TIFF space. You have people who are accessing these from different offices. You don't typically guarantee uniformity of the viewer experience. Can't search within the viewer. Can't guarantee it'll open up 3 years from now. You don't have that PDFA behind you. So there must be some reasons. Maybe they're compelling, but we don't quite understand it. The best answer we've gotten from some people in the industry is they've got some of these old legacy workflows that require TIFF. If that's a problem, it shouldn't be. You can always spit it back out to TIFF at a rate of up to 20, 30, even 50 pages per second on the decompressor side of TIFF. You can generate TIFF dynamically if you need to. To keep it as TIFF just because you've got some workflow that is TIFF-centric wouldn't be a good reason. Now let us know. Reach out to us. If you really want to convert to PDF, but you're stuck with some TIFF workflow stuff, legacy stuff, we can probably help you out there. So let's take a quick look at what happened during this run. We just ran the star file again. So here you go. Star. This is the original one. Now we made it searchable. Again, 108 tape, 20 meg. Here's your 20 meg. We've got a file. It's TIFF. It's what a lot of you have if you're dealing with TIFF now. Loaded. Not searchable. Can't do anything with it. No searchability here. Here's the PDF compressor version, and it is fully about 200 times smaller. About 200 times smaller. And fully searchable at this point. Don't know why Acrobat's reconfiguring again. Send an email to, nice email, to my friends at Adobe afterwards. Now, here we see, of course, with the text bar, this is a fully searchable document. You can drop it into a Word file. You can find any term that you need to in the document. So, I mean, this is a very, the indexing, the index under Windows will find this document. If you search and you put it anywhere on Windows, you know, anywhere on my machine or anywhere on my network, it'll find it because it's all text searchable, which it TIFF didn't have. So we've created a fully text searchable, web optimized PDFA file, and it's the 200th the size of the original, right? So really would seem to be the way to go. So if you're still, you know, dealing with TIFF files or you're not capturing at all, you're still dealing with paper, it looks like we've got some of the answers for you. We're happy to talk to you after this webinar. Send us an email, and we can talk about what you're doing now, maybe what you'd like to be doing 6 months from now or a year from now. One of the nice things, Chris, we said before is that often it's very easy to make an ROI, return on investment argument, for capturing paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we've seen a lot of clients do that. So just to wrap up, just for example, PDF compressor, our flagship product. See here, a lot of companies use it just to start getting rid of the paper. You want to move towards the paperless office. PDF compressor allows you to access, transmit, store email more efficiently, up to a tenth the size for black and white. We even saw 200th the size in black and white a few minutes ago. Up to 100th the size, smaller than TIFF and JPEG. It's web optimized for PDF streaming. The OCR is embedded. It's indexed OCR. Advanced pre-processing is done and stuck into the PDF. It's perfect for high volume. It will fully saturate your multi-core device, generate PDFA for long-time archiving. So everybody will be happy, your boss, because of the ROI. NARA and ARMA will be happy because you've complied with all the document retention rules that are in the industry. So for high volume, our systems typically, you watch folder functionality for immediate deployment. It integrates, by the way, with Kovacs Capture and EMC Input Excel. If you have either Kovacs Capture or EMC IA, we have a module that fits directly into their respective workflows. We also, most of our clients deal with a standalone capture product where we have our watch folder communicating directly with your capture device. And again, we fully support multi-threading, and we'll fully saturate your multi-core devices. We have a mobile version coming out. We'll be just showing it in Las Vegas in January, right, Chris?
Yeah, at CES, January 10th through 14th, I believe.
So anybody who's there, if you're welcome to stop by our booth.
Yeah, absolutely.
We giving away anything for free?
Yeah, we'll have to work that out.
All right. Anyway, we'll be at the Las Vegas show, and we'll show you the same application, world's best, smartest, searchable paper in the form of super compressed PDF, but now available on a mobile device for mobile capture. We've got a lot of clients, Fortune 500s, I'm sure you'd recognize these guys. And last but not least, you can reach us. Here's some information. Telephone number, you can send us any email to info@ if you have questions. Visit our website. We'd love to hear from you. And now I think we're ready to take some of your questions. Thanks for being so patient. And Chris, what do we have today?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Got here.
Thanks, Ari. I think we have some questions, so let's see if we can get to them. Okay. Here's a question from Dylan. Actually, rather, here's a question from Ted. Just looking for automatic OCR and indexing of scanned PDFs when they're added to a specific folder. Can this be done?
Yeah, I mean, the real trick is to make all your files automatically searchable. So, for example, with our watch folder, you can pull folders, and as soon as new information is added from a fax or wherever, make sure they become searchable. Once they're searchable, the indexing agent, let's say Windows has an index agent, will automatically index them depending on the periodicity you set. So as long as you guarantee the files are searchable and have text in them, most systems, like Google Desktop, will periodically scan for any new files and will index them automatically. So yeah, if you work, for example, if you put our, if you automatically set up some web folders that are hot folders, they're watched, and you make sure your files are searchable, then everything should automatically index.
Thanks, Ari. Here's a question from Mark. Maybe you can discuss some things you have in mind. I know you went out through a few of those things, Ari. Do you have any best practices for processing a large store of existing scanned PDFs?
That's a really good question, Mark. I mean, some of the best practices would be to probably put them in a folder, do a batch scan, make sure the error folder is set when you do the run. So if there's any problem converting anything there, any files that are corrupt, maybe there's millions of files, you'll get an error notice. And then you just need to go through the error logs that we generate automatically. And if you don't have anything in the error log, probably there were no errors. Another way to do it, of course, is to sync. When you're finished, you know how many TIFFs or JPEGs or PDFs went in. Look in the output folder, keep them separate, make sure there's a one-to-one correspondence, make sure that every input file generated an output file and then that probably means the conversion was successful. If not, you should see something in the error logs. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you still have any questions that we're sort of not answering or not answering fully. Send us an email after. We'll be glad to get back to you.
Okay, thanks, Ari. Here's a question from Scott. What are the downsides to using PDFA? Why use PDF over PDFA?
Well, let's see. There aren't major downsides. There may be people, for example, I think some of you probably have seen these, where you have a PDF and there's a hyperlink to another place on the web, and you might want that hyperlink. Maybe it's a related document. So just the nature of PDFA has to be that everything about this document is self-contained. Therefore, no external links are allowed. What happens when we PDFA documents, we actually sever the link. We'll leave you the text of the link, where it's going, but the link itself is cut, snipped. So we can't allow any external references because you don't know those references will be there when you need to reconstruct this file. Okay, so there are some negatives. There's a few negatives to PDFA, particularly when you're scanning paper. There shouldn't be any active hyperlinks anyway, so you're not going to lose important information. However, when you got to remove JavaScript and remove links, make sure the links don't work, there are some limitations to PDFA. Normally, in a ARMA, in a record retention or compliance environment, it shouldn't hurt you at all. If you're coming up with an active, let's say it's a corporate earnings report for your company, it's electronic, and you're referencing ancillary data, you may not want those links to be cut as such. So there are some negatives in terms of limiting or enforcing self-containment on the PDFA file.
Thanks a lot, Ari. Here's a question from MA. Instead of dropping files into a watch folder, can the product be pointed at an existing folder on a file share or at SharePoint?
Yeah, so we do that. You can send it to a folder. You can point it at a SharePoint database, and we work actually very smoothly with SharePoint. You can point it to an existing file on a file share. That's fine. It's to a SharePoint directory. That's also fine. So if you have any questions, we have a bunch of solutions architects that can actually help you with the mechanics and logistics of getting things set up to run. But we run across the network when the files are on the file share. Even if you've got files in an FTP location, they have to be then processed and moved to another FTP location, or if the files are in SharePoint, we work in all those environments.
Thanks, Ari. We still have some more questions, so let's keep on taking them. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to ask. Here's a question from Victor. The question is, does grayscale image have a size greater than a color image at the same resolution?
Actually smaller. Grayscale images are a little smaller than their color counterparts. Not by much, because you're really just keeping a chromatic. The difference between grayscale and color is just chromaticity. And most information of a color file is actually how dark or bright or how light or dark it is. So most information in color is in the grayscale. There might be a 10% difference between going grayscale versus going color. So therefore, if you convert your documents from color to grayscale, maybe you'll see a 10% reduction. Never the kind of reductions 10 to 1, 100 to 1 we're talking about. Grayscale will be smaller, but not significantly smaller, maybe in the area of 10%.
Thanks, Ari. Let's see what other questions we have. Here's a question from Mark. Will applications like ProFX tax prep benefit from compression?
Yeah, sure. Any Pro tax package should benefit. First of all, these tax packages keep track of the files, and the faster, the smaller they are, the easier they are to access, particularly if the application is used over the web. Of course, we could be used in understanding within the forms, but there probably is some basic fixed form understanding within that prep package. Probably the biggest benefit to you would be that the files are going to be much smaller, therefore much more accessible to the tax package and to anybody using the tax package and viewing it, particularly over the web in a distributed environment.
Thanks, Ari. Here's a question from Scott. Which compression algorithms do you use and what do you recommend?
Right. So we recommend, we typically rely on JBig2, where CBIS has been a leader for the last 10 years. We also rely on Color MRC. and it's ancillary JPEG 2000, supported as JP200 PDF spec. But we particularly are leaders in what we call JPEG2 compression and bitonal and MRC color, which is color. Both fit seamlessly within PDF. So we're not talking about anything that requires any special software. These are variations of compression that the industry has developed over the last 10 years, but can be written directly into PDF files.
Thanks, Ari. We have one last question. It's from MA. He's referring to a slide within the deck. Is the compressed size represented in the PDF, does it have images plus text? And I believe it's slide 5 here, Ari.
Yeah, so if you look back at the slide, I think that Mark, I think your question was with respect to this slide right here, where we're giving you file size, and yes, it is fully text searchable. So if you're going back here, for example, we're talking about, and that's an example we showed you in STAR. Remember, STAR was 200 times smaller and fully text searchable. Here, when we go from 921 KB as a Word file, that's a 13 megs a TIFF. 13 meg is a standard G4 PDF, something that you get under Acrobat, for example. If you get the compressed PDF, something that we make under PDF Compressor, that's a fully searchable, all the text is there, fully searchable PDF, 870 KB. The answer is yes. That's the image plus all the text, full text, as a hidden text layer.
Great. Thanks, Ari. That's actually all the questions we have.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, everyone, for all their questions. Thanks, Ari, for giving the presentation today, and thanks, everyone, for attending. If you have any additional questions, you can always email or call us at info@cvisiontech.com. I'll put our contact information up here. Certainly be on the lookout for any upcoming webinars. And if you want to reach us, our information is listed here. Thanks again, everyone, for attending and all the questions.